Hi, and welcome to VirtuEL2018, Utilizing EL Professionals to Revolutionize PD. I'm Jess Bell. On Twitter, I'm JessBell79.
I'm Carlota Holder. On Twitter, I'm at Carlota_Holder. And we are here today to, what word would you use to describe? Empower you to utilize yourselves to give PD in your school or your district. Okay. Language objective. As we are SIOP teachers as well. Our language objective for today is to identify PD strategies to apply in your school or district. And our content objective is to demonstrate those ways EL professionals can lead PD in their school or district. And here's kind of the rationale behind our objectives. We want schools to use resources wisely. It's cost effective. So invest in your teachers that you have on staff instead of hiring somebody outside, paying millions of dollars, and they don't really know your school or district. Assist content teachers in viewing EL teachers as professionals and experts. I mean, we've been there before. A lot of times content teachers treat us like we're assistants, and we're not assistants. We're teachers. We went to school. We did the same thing you did. So if you're putting yourself out there leading PD, they will view you more as a professional and really take what you have to say to heart rather than this person's just in here to help my kids.
Yeah.
Allows everyone to share their expertise, so it makes it more collaborative. You are the EL teacher, so you are the language master kind of in the classroom, and your content teacher is that content master. That's what they bring to the table, and so it gives you a place to kind of collaborate within content and language. And then it also builds trust. This way, the teachers that you're working with trust that you have the best interest for them as well as for your students. Because really, us as EL teachers, if we're doing a lot of push-in and collaborative co-teaching, we are there not only for our students, all students, but we're also there to assist the teacher and guide the teacher into best practices. And that this way, by leading PD in your school or district, you will build a trust between content teachers and EL teachers. They'll really understand what you're there for.
So we kind of talked through the different kinds of PD, and we decided they could really be categorized into passive PD and active PD. And we defined passive PD as the EL professional is providing information and expertise like indirectly. You're not speaking in front of a group. And then active, where the EL professional is actively leading and like standing in front of a group of people. We're also going to go over some suggested topics, like what you could present about and share. We have some research articles that support using the EL professional in the classroom or like in your school or district to give PD because you are the expert for your district. And we have some examples to show you to help you get inspired and want to start doing your own PD.
Okay.
So passive strategies allow you to share your expertise without being in front of a group. This is a great way to get started sharing PD with your staff. If you are new to presenting PD, if you're uncomfortable speaking in front of a group of adults, or if your administration doesn't really provide you options to lead PD, these are ways that you can still provide PD and provide information to your staff. You could do a newsletter. We share out to staff on a regular basis. We use Google Docs. That way I can just add it to their Google Drive as well as sending it like through email, and they can keep it and have it back to reference, which is a really nice thing about a newsletter because then they can keep a file of them, or you can keep a file of them to be like, oh, if you want to go back to October and check out the strategy I shared then, like that would be helpful for you in this instance. You could also include links to graphics and videos. You could use s'mores if you don't use Google Docs. You can also include FAQs. I usually do 1 to 2 strategies per issue. I usually do FAQ, a couple of strategies, sometimes a video and a graphic because I want to keep it short so that people feel like it's something that they can access easily.
And we'll have an example of that later.
Yeah. You can also email people or groups, the whole staff. You could include personalized information similar to your newsletter. The nice thing about emails is that you could send it to an instructional group, and that way you're not just singling out one person, right? You could say, hey, these are some great ideas that the social studies staff or content teachers or the third grade teachers could use, and you could really be focused on one person, but you could either choose to actually focus on that one person, or you could choose a larger group. And that way they don't feel like you're just picking on them, right? You're sharing information to a group of people. You could suggest a topic if your school does PLCs or book studies. Like if you pick that out and like you push for an EL or one that's reading strategies for all or SIOP or sheltered or, any of the EL books we do in EL Chat Book Club, like that's a great way to passively lead PD. You could also do a Google Classroom, which is an online classroom management tool to post and provide information to your staff. And Carlota does this. And so we're going to look at her walkthrough of like how she uses that tool to provide PD to her staff.
One thing I want to add, and I don't know what you want to add to this, but I know a lot of teachers, they'll send emails and they'll do newsletters and they do this passive way, and then they feel like they're not getting a response. So what would be like your suggestion? Like, because you consistently did your newsletter. Mm-hmm. So what would be like your advice for those teachers who feel like, I'm doing this, but I feel like I'm getting no response? Like, should they stop? Should they keep doing it?
No, I feel like it's just like trying a new strategy in the classroom, right? If it goes, you do it once and it doesn't go quite the way you want it, you keep at it. You make tweaks. You find ways. I love that our newsletter really opened up. The staff felt more comfortable emailing the EL team. I work in a large school with 4,000 students, and over 200 of them receive EL services. I think we're almost up to 250. And so it's a large group of students, and teachers have a lot to do, but it really kind of opened the door. They felt a lot more comfortable like asking questions or suggesting a topic, or if someone asked me a question, then I would include that topic in the next newsletter. And also the nice thing about Google Docs is you can see them sign in. Like you can see it all pop. When I first sent the first few, I would see a few people pop in right away, but by the time I was sending the end of the year one, there would be like 20 different colored tiles in the corner as people signed in right away. And so that kind of gives you a little bit of validation about it. It also is nice for me that our district director and my assistant principal were like, hey, these are great. We're going to add them to the important docs folder that the whole staff can access. So even if you feel like the first couple of times, like the reaction you want isn't there, it is. You just got to keep at it, just like anything we do in teaching. Keep at it. It'll get better.
I think the best advice I got from who's your director was to keep sharing, just because it covers your bases. Mm-hmm. So like it shows that like you're putting in the effort, even though maybe the content teachers aren't responding. And when I first started, like that was really hard for me that they weren't responding. And I was just encouraged, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, right? Yeah. Because we're so limited in like how we coach teachers, right? That was something that you could come back to and be like, this is how I'm trying to coach teachers. So if you just consistently do it, even if you're not getting a response, right, you're still covering your job.
Right. And you have that, they can go back, like when you do eventually hook that person, like then they can be like, oh, well now, like I wonder what else, you've talked about that if there's a graphic or a video or a topic that really speaks to them one time, and they're like, oh, now I can go back and look at the rest of this information. Or since I'm at high school, sometimes I have teachers that don't have a lot of EL students one semester, so they're not as engaged. But then the next semester they have like 15 and they're like, oh my God, what do I do? And I'm like, hey, go back and check your newsletters. Let me know if you have any questions. I have lots
Jess has even had teachers that say like, that was in a newsletter in October. Like the other teachers telling teachers.
Yeah, they're calling them out.
Where that information was.
You should check your newsletter.
So, okay. So those are passive strategies. We're going to move on to active strategies. So active strategies allow you to present information in front of an audience. And there are many more options than presenting at a staff meeting. Mm-hmm. So you could lead a PLC or book study. You could lead school or district PD sessions. You could host a stop and snack session. You could host things that work for me, sharing sessions, which really means that you're reaching out to those teachers that you've seen do really awesome things in their classroom, and you want them to share with the rest of the staff, which really builds that staff culture. You can collaborate with instructional coaches, department chairs, and team leaders. I think that is the most successful, because then you get more people kind of like jumping on your bandwagon and you're all fighting for like the same cause. You could also host practice labs. If you're not familiar with those, it's just kind of a real quick PD where it's like a 15-minute mini lesson of a strategy or activity, and then the teachers start practicing it kind of immediately. They get a chance to kind of practice with your support. I would say, as you guys know, we're very active on the EL Chat Book Club, and I would say that's a passive strategy. Because you're not really the one leading it, but like perhaps you're asking your staff, your principal, your administration to buy this book, and then kind of encouraging others to join us on Twitter. But you can lead your own. I've done this in the past. Last summer I did an Enlace book chat on culturally responsive teaching in the brain, because I was just like really blown away by that book and thought it was something my staff needed. So I created our own questions, and some of them I stole from Katie. And we had our own kind of book chat in relation to like our students. I don't know if it was that successful. I did have a teacher at the end of the year today be like, did I miss that email about what book study we're doing this summer? And I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know it was that successful. But you know, now I look back and I was like, oh, I should have asked. I did offer that, like, hey, we're doing, what's the book we're doing next? The professional one.
The LL Success Every Day.
Yeah. ELL Everyday Success or something.
I feel like we should have done that before we started recording.
But I did offer to buy that book for them and then have them just kind of partake in the Twitter chat. PLCs happen during preps. So not all schools have PLCs.
Or during late starts. If you are at early release, however your school handles that additional professional time.
Yeah, we do early release weekly. So you could lead time during that time during prep. You could even if you don't have a PLC and you're like, I want to lead a PD with this group of teachers, I'm going to ask them to do their prep. I mean, ask them. You don't know the answer until you ask. Some might want to do that. And even if it's like 2 out of 5 teachers, like at least you're making an impact on some of them.
Right. So as a secondary teacher, some of the things that I deal with are a little different than some of our elementary teachers that push in. That's kind of not how we do it in the secondary model that I teach in. The things that work for me, sharing sessions, are great because you can contact a department chair and say, hey, can I come to your department chair, and can your teachers who work with EL students bring something that they really had success about? And then usually I introduce that topic. I'm like, hey, let's talk about a strategy that really helped you with EL students in math. And then they all start to talk to each other. So it is active and I am kind of hosting that, but really I'm just setting up the first question and then I kind of moving them along. But it really helps them realize that like they can do this and they can talk to each other, and like there is expertise in their own department also. Like, because it's we have 250 teachers and I can't push into every classroom. So making sure that they can collaborate with each other about EL strategies, like when I start that, it really is very beneficial for all of them. So that's a good way. If you're secondary, that's something you can totally do at a department meeting or team meeting or however you do it. You just ask the team leader, department chair, hey, can I come in for a few minutes? Can I have 15 minutes? Can I have 10 minutes? And that's plenty of time for people to share a couple of strategies. Yeah. Always.
That was our next one, is stop and snack sessions. People at PD love snacks. I always buy this popcorn. I don't remember what it's called. It's the caramel and cheddar popcorn
Chicago mix
at Costco. Yeah, the Chicago mix.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I always bring when I'm hosting like longer, bigger PDs, and my staff loves it. Or in the fall, I make what is it called? I make pumpkin chocolate chip bread, and I make apple crisp in my crock pot, and I actually let it cook in my office during the day. So when people are walking by and they smell it, I was like, oh, that's for later. That's for PD.
You should come to Stop and Snack.
So those are really successful as well. I mean, teachers just love food at the end of the day. It's kind of a comfort for them.
Or at the beginning of the day.
I mean, whenever. So here are just some ideas of active strategies. The last thing I wanted to add was leading school or district PD sessions. When I was working in the same district as Jess, I had the opportunity of going to a train the trainer session for sheltered instruction. And so then we continually, to get that effort started, led PD for the whole district after school. So to be active as well, if there are ever any opportunities where somebody reaches out and say like, hey, do you want to go to this training? Even if it's not for English language learners, like take advantage of it, because then you can bring it back and put your EL twist to whatever it is, right? Because that's what we do with everything as EL professionals. We always have to add something. We have to supplement, scaffold. So even if it's not just EL, just say, hey, I want to go learn about this for my kids or for our kids. And even if it's just a literacy thing, and then bring it back and lead PD for your staff. Take advantage of those.
Yeah. And if you're somebody who's like, this is outside my comfort zone, I am not going to stand up and speak in front of a group of adults. Like, I'm not going to speak at a school, like a school PD. Like, start small. Start with a team, or start with a Stop and Snack, or start with your things that work with me. Because the more you speak to adults and the more you speak in front of them, the more comfortable you'll be. And eventually you'll be like, oh yeah, I can stand up and talk to anybody about anything, or I can stand up and lead a school PD, or I can lead a district PD session. Like, you are the expert and your expertise needs to be shared. And so whatever it is that you need to do to be comfortable, if you want to practice what you're going to say, if you want to, work with a small group, if you sit in your room.
You could do it online too, like this. You could do a video.
You could. And we're going to talk about videos in a minute, but you could totally record yourself in a video, and then you can redo it as many times as you want and embed it into your newsletter or into your email or into your Google Classroom. But the more practice you get and the more comfortable you are, the more you are able to share your expertise with other people. And that's really what we think is really powerful, because you know your kids and you know your staff.
Yep. You know your work. Okay. Next. What's next?
Suggested topics. I love making accommodations and modifications, because no matter how many times I explain that they're different and how to do them, I get, but how do I do that? What does that look like in my room? Yeah. Talk about it a lot.
So that's one topic. Another topic, and this goes for both passive and active, right? These are topics for both passive and active, because I know Jess has sent out a newsletter that this is accommodations and this is modifications. I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the year, so that they could get.
I revisit it.
Yeah.
Frequently.
So another topic you can do is just strategies. So EL strategies, building students' background knowledge, teaching vocabulary, tier 2 and tier 3 words. The amount of strategies is unlimited. If you are in EL Chat Book Club, we have a bajillion books with different strategies. Teach something out of those books. Yeah. Would be great.
And I do suggest strategies, keep it under 5 when whatever session. You don't want to overload them with information, because we've all been in meetings where people talk for 2 hours and they tell you 19 things, and you go home and you're like, oh, I only remember 1. So if you talk about 1 to 5 strategies at a time, you'll get more success than if you overload them. I'm a big fan of providing frequently asked questions. And that way people aren't embarrassed to ask you questions. I also like to do, FAQs for well, what exactly is an EL student, and how is that determined, and what languages do my children speak at home? And all of those things can be found in our student management system, which is another one at the bottom there, how to find information about your own students in your own building or your own classroom. I talk about that a lot too, because I feel like sometimes teachers just want to ask me instead of looking that up for themselves. And I'm like, this information is provided to you. Here's how you can find it. Here's where it is.
WIDA can do descriptors. So every year, schools are supposed to review the WIDA can do descriptors in their kind of alignment to the WIDA access test that we are federally accounted for. So you can do this passively on paper in a newsletter and an email, or you can do it actively. You could also use, if you use the information system Elevation, I think that these topics, there's a lot of information there as well. The WIDA can do descriptors are there, especially if a teacher has their own class, they can go and look at the students and see where they're at, where we want to try and get them to, based on those WIDA can do descriptors. And Elevation even has some SIOP strategies in their instructional activities, as Jana was an author in some of that as well. But SIOP strategies is great to send to teachers. As you know, there's 8 components, 30 features. So that's a lot. So you don't want to send all of that at once, but kind of like break it down for them, similar to what we said before on the other strategies. Like, I even think 5 might be too many at one time. I'd say like 1 to 3. Like people sometimes just can't handle the awesomeness that is ELPD.
Yeah, it's a lot sometimes. But
yeah. And then as Jess mentioned before, information about your students. So teaching them how to use Elevation. You could do something like this where you have, like what we're doing, where you have the web browser up and you're talking about how to navigate it. That would be passively and send it to them. Or you can do it in front of the whole staff and have them. Elevation actually provides a lot of PD resources for you to use. So you could pick and choose what you want to, and then you kind of in a big room, PLC or after school, you kind of guide them walking around and help them navigate that system.
Yeah, we're using Screencastify. If you have questions about that, we would love to talk to you about Screencastify. It's one of my favorite things. You can also make sure your teachers know how to find information about their students in your gradebook system, or like we use Tyler Sys. A lot of people use
Power School.
There are a variety of other options, but I find that teachers sometimes don't know how to find information about their EL students that already exists in that, even if you don't use Elevation. Like whatever kind of student record system you have for attendance and grades or all that information should also have information about your EL students, even if you don't use something like Elevation. And sometimes teachers just don't know how to find that. I'm like, if you hover over the icon next to the student's name, it'll tell you what their current WIDA, what their
alert,
what their score is, and they're like, "What? I can do that?" Yes, you can.
All right. Okay, so here are some research articles. I was a I'm a Teach Plus alum. I was a fellow, and I was really big on teachers giving teachers PD because I think it is a lot more powerful than a company coming in, and I'm going to tell you why. So we had a company come in, and she wanted to kind of do an example. She wanted to model how to use the curriculum. Well, this lady wanted teachers to bring students to the model that were at grade level, reading at grade level, and that spoke English. And I was mad. And I told luckily I missed this PD when she said this, because I would have probably walked out and said a lot of mean things. But I had teachers.
Actually, she's very professional. She's just kidding.
I had teachers come to me after this PD because they know how I advocate for my kids. And I had teachers, you would not believe what this lady said. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And so then I would tell each of my teachers, was like, oh, you should take this student and this student, right? Because we want PD that is actually applicable to our students, right? Like, how many of us, we work in urban districts, high poverty. How many of us have kids that are reading at grade level, right? Like, that's not what I need help on. That's not what I need PD on. I need PD for my kids. So it was just a perfect example of a company and this lady who had no idea who our students were, and she was trying to give us PD, and the district spent thousands of dollars on this, and it was not applicable for teachers. They're like, I can't even use this example. So it led me and other teachers, because other teachers have had similar experiences here in Indianapolis, to write this research policy paper on teachers leading PD. And through surveys of Indianapolis teachers, we found like that's what teachers want. Teachers want other teachers in their building to lead PD because they know what that building is like. They can relate
staff
yeah,
and the students.
Yeah, they can relate to the staff and to the students. They know what their demographics are like. They know what their success is like, right? They know what the goals of the school are. It's just a lot more empowering and a better use of time for teachers if PD is led by teachers. And on top of that, then you're investing in your own staff. So instead of paying this person $1,000 that was useless PD, you could invest money in a teacher that you already have on staff, in a professional that you already have on staff, and something that teachers would take to heart because they know that they know the staff and the students. So that is what led to that policy research.
And if that's not enough for your administration, feel free to click on the link from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation because they found the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Those links will be available in the slide share from Ton on the s'mores.
Yep.
So we do have, if you have not ever used S'more, you can use S'more to share with your staff. And we're going to click on the S'more for VirtuEL2018, which, as we're pre-recording, is currently under construction. So a S'more allows you to kind of like it's a very visual kind of newsletter. It would let you do like a flyer with links and videos. And so S'more, I believe you can sign up for free, but you only get a few, and then there's a subscription. Then we have some copies of my newsletter. So I do my newsletter as a Google Doc. And so you can see this one, if you scroll down, has a lot of information. It has some FAQs, like it has, if you scroll down, it has some images and then additional information and strategies. I usually include links to videos. I include all kinds of different stuff. Here's some graphics from Valentina. Okay. Here we are. Okay.
All right. So this is Sylvia Duckworth. If you follow her on Twitter, she always has amazing sketch notes, is what they're called. So even just kind of embedding this in like a newsletter like Jess did, or maybe even just in an email, inspirational, or I think Valentina's is a lot more instructional.
It depends. Sylvia has a lot of instructional ones too.
These are inspirational ones that I found.
Because as you know, one of the strategies we work with our staff is that graphics really help students understand concepts better.
Those visuals.
And then you've got your teachers as students. So the same strategies apply.
And then here's an example of Valentina's. Of course, she shares on Twitter. So we have her Twitter account listed on that last slide. This is the one that was on your newsletter. The power of wait time is so powerful.
It is. It's really important.
All right. I think we're over our time limit.
I think we are too. So again, here's my Twitter and my email. Here's her Twitter and email.
Yep, here's my Twitter and email. If you guys have any questions about this, please reach out. I know that I've had some people on Twitter reach out to me like, I'm leading PD on this. And, I've shared some of the slides that I've already done on different things. And we would love to help empower you to lead PD because you need to view yourself as the professional as you are, and we need teachers to view you as the professional as you are, so English language learning students get access to the education that they deserve and need.
Yeah, you're awesome. You need to make sure everyone else realizes exactly how awesome you are. Bye, guys.
Bye.